Hello tankers and tankettes, and welcome to the next in the series looking at the various tank types. I've covered lights already, and today I'm going to do mediums. And as you can see, I don't have a whole lot of them, and they're not one of my most played tanks, so take my advice with a pinch of salt. And yeah, I'm going to be fairly general here as always, and that's actually quite difficult with medium tanks because they're a pretty diverse bunch, and I think a lot of people in my experience struggle to know quite what to do with a medium, and I was definitely in that category up until relatively recently. I mean, we're talking the last couple of months maybe. Well, I've started to finally get a handle on what you're supposed to do with these things, and that was really through or maybe longer than a couple of months anyway, but that was through mostly having a go at the German mid-tier mediums, which are actually, I think, if you're looking at trying out medium tanks, I'm going to say that pretty much right from the get-go. I know I've been waffling on for like 2 minutes now, but try out the German mediums because they are pretty good at the mid-tiers, tier 5 and tier 6, and they will give you a good idea of what you're meant to be doing in a medium, and the kind of play style that's required for medium tanks. And yeah, like I said, it's hard to be general about mediums, but they do have some commonalities, and most of those are to do with the fact that they are in between light tanks and heavy tanks in terms of mobility, which makes sense. They generally don't have great guns, and they have better armor than light tanks, but for the most part they don't have they don't have the kind of armor where you can sit and slug it out with other tanks head to head. Mobilities are like light tanks in that mediums. Wow, I fluffed that sentence good and proper. Mediums are like light tanks in that a lot of their power and flexibility comes from their ability to move around the battlefield, and some of them are a lot better at it than others. But on the whole, like I've said, the German mid-tier mediums, this one, the Cromwell, is a pretty good exemplar of an almost ideal medium tank. It doesn't have great armor, it's got an okay gun, but you need to use that mobility because the gun, generally speaking, doesn't have enough penetration to take on same tier or higher tier heavies head to head. You need to get around your enemy. You need to do what is called flanking, and I possibly talked about that in the light video a bit, I can't remember, but a lot of what is applicable to light tanks is applicable to medium tanks in terms of looking for gaps to exploit, looking for opportunities, but I think with mediums you are much more having to be aware of what your heavies are doing, because light tanks are more independent operators, I think, whereas mediums, you're very much well, sometimes you are more in a supporting role. Sometimes there are a lot of spots on maps where they are good places for specifically mediums to get to if they've got enough speed, and it's not necessarily always about operating near and supporting friendly heavy tanks, but you will find yourself doing that quite often. In theory, the heavy tanks should be fighting it out head to head, and mediums should be looking for gaps in the flanks and basically looking to get around and encircle the enemy if at all possible. So it's like light tanks, it's that mobility, it's that ability to get around the battlefield and be in unexpected places, or even to get back, to go from somewhere where the battle's looking alright to go and support another flank where things are looking a bit more shaky. Mediums have that ability that slower heavy tanks might not necessarily do, and you can also there are one or two like the Cromwell where you can sort of be a pseudo scout, but on the whole mediums are not really suitable for that. They tend to have okay view ranges though. So yeah, like I said, if you want a good taste of mediums, I would, the American mediums, the Shermans, or the German mediums. I think those are probably the best two groups of mid-tier mediums in the game, and the Cromwell, of course, sits on its own. It's the first. Well, I wouldn't say it's the first medium the British get. They actually have some slow mediums that take you up to the heavy line, but you get some light tanks that take you up to the medium line, and on the whole it's a very good medium line. I know the Comet isn't the most popular tank, but I think it suffers from what all the tier 7 tanks largely suffer from, the tier 7 mediums. So yeah, like I've said, if you have that kind of almost light mentality but not really, I can only really recommend that you go and watch videos of successful medium gameplay. And if you look for, you know, Cromwell games give you a good idea of what you can do with a really mobile medium, or the Germans or the Americans. Like I've said, it's a diverse bunch. You get some that are really snipers, like the Panzer V, aka the Panther. The Type T-34 gets quite a snipey gun, and it doesn't really have the mobility for more standard medium tactics, or the alpha damage really. But yeah, there are a few oddballs in the medium tree. Yeah, like this thing. Anyway, if you thought this was a useful video, you can leave a comment, you can hit the like button, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more.